Ever feel like your brain is the real reason you can't lose weight? You know what to do, but somehow still end up skipping the workouts, eating the snacks you swore you wouldn't, and then saying, I'll start over Monday. I'm a dietitian and personal trainer, and I've lost 35 pounds twice after having babies, not with a bunch of willpower, but by learning how to work with my brain instead of constantly fighting against it. And now I've helped hundreds of other moms do the same. Lose fat, build strength, and stop quitting on themselves without obsessing over food or spending hours in the gym. In this video, I'm breaking down why your brain resists fat loss even when you want it, the psychological traps keeping you stuck, and how my clients rewire their brain and finally lose weight without obsessing. Let's go. Let's start with what no one tells you about fat loss. It's not just about eating less or moving more. It's about understanding what your brain is wired to do. And spoiler, it's not to help you get leaner. So if you've ever felt like you're constantly fighting yourself, you're not crazy. You're just dealing with a brain that sees change as a threat. Let me break it down. Your brain's number one job is to keep you safe and alive, not thriving, not confident in a swimsuit, just alive. So anytime you do something unfamiliar like lifting weights, tracking food, eating more protein, instead of grabbing something quick, your brain hits the brakes. It's like, this feels hard. This isn't what I usually do. Let's go back to what's comfortable. And here's the problem. Comfortable might feel safe, but it's also what's keeping you stuck. Think about it. Your brain loves routine, even if that routine is mindless snacking at night, or skipping workouts, or eating whatever is left on your kid's plate because it's easier than making yourself something with protein. You might not like those habits, but your brain is attached to them because they're predictable, easy, familiar, and familiar equals safe, according to your nervous system. You're not broken, you're just wired for survival, not transformation. And if you don't learn to recognize that pattern, you will keep repeating it. I can't tell you how many times a client has said, I'm doing everything right, but nothing's working. So we look at their habits, and what we find is they're being mostly consistent, but mostly isn't what gets results. Their brain remembers the workout they did do, but forgets the two they skipped. It remembers the healthy lunch, but not the snacks they grabbed standing at the pantry. It remembers tracking breakfast, but not that dinner was a free-for-all. And again, this isn't to call anyone out. This is just how your brain protects your ego. It wants you to feel like you're trying really hard because you are. But hard effort isn't always the same as effective action. This is why I have my clients track real consistency, not perfection, just honest data. Because when we take emotion out of it and look at what's really happening, that's when we can make real progress. So if you're feeling stuck, it might not be your body. It might just be your brain editing the story. So now you know you're probably not as consistent as you think. And it's not your fault. Your brain is literally wired to protect you from discomfort, even if that discomfort leads to growth. But here's where it gets even trickier. Sometimes, just when you're finally gaining traction, your brain freaks out and pulls the plug. Not because you're lazy, but because deep down, success feels scary. One of my clients, Emma, came to me feeling totally stuck in her post-baby body. She was doing the workouts, trying to eat better, but her brain still saw the process as punishment. Her brain had been trained to associate working out with fixing something. Food felt like a chore. Exercise felt like a way to shrink herself, not progress, not get stronger. And that belief, it was quietly sabotaging her progress. Because if your brain thinks something is punishment, it'll find every excuse to avoid it. But when we worked together, that's the first thing we rewired. The two most valuable things she gained were how to better fuel her body and how to approach workouts from a mindset of strength rather than punishment. That shift made everything click. In 8 weeks, Emma lost 15 pounds and 10 inches. But more importantly, her brain stopped resisting the process. She wasn't battling herself every day anymore. She was actually on her own team. Because we didn't just fix her habits, we helped her brain feel safe with change. And that's what made the results stick. Here's where most fat loss plans miss the mark. They give you tasks. Track your food, work out 4 times a week, eat more protein. But if your brain doesn't believe those tasks belong to you, it's going to resist them every single time. Most moms try to change their habits without ever changing how they see themselves. You're telling yourself, I just need more discipline. I'm bad at tracking. I'm not a gym person. And if your brain believes those thoughts, that's the identity it's going to protect. But here's what I teach my clients. What if you are a person who prioritizes health because your kids are watching? What if working out isn't punishment, but the thing that helps you feel like you again? Your brain doesn't change because you downloaded a new meal plan. It changes when it starts seeing you as someone who follows through. That's how real transformation happens, not from a perfect plan, but from building trust with yourself, one small decision at a time. And until your brain believes that new identity, it's always going to default to the old one. The one that says, this is too hard, or I'll just start over Monday. So now you get it. Your brain has to believe you are the kind of person who follows through. But how do you actually make that belief stick? Let's talk about how to rewire your brain in real life without burning out or going all in for 2 weeks and quitting. Not with a 30-day detox, not with a perfect meal plan. The real work starts with simple, doable actions that prove to your brain, hey, we're actually doing this, and it's safe to keep going. This is exactly how I coach my clients because it works in real life, especially when you've got a million other things on your plate. Number 1, start with one tiny habit that builds trust. Something so small, it's almost laughable, but powerful enough to create momentum. That could be drinking 64 ounces of water every day. Not because water is magic, but because every time you follow through, you're building evidence. I do what I said I'd do. That's how you start rewiring your identity from someone who always quits to someone who keeps showing up. Number 2, track without changing anything. Most people dive into tracking their food and immediately try to eat perfectly. But what if you just observed for a week? No judgment, no pressure, just awareness. Because once you know where you're starting from, your brain can shift from panic mode to strategy mode. Now it's not, I don't know why this isn't working. It's, oh, this is what's going on. And that's empowering. Number 3, start with mindset, not rules. This is a big one. Inside my program, we always start with mindset first, because if your brain doesn't feel safe with change, it'll sabotage everything else. Instead of obsessing over what to eat or how to train, begin with what's actually holding you back. Things like all or nothing thinking, the fear of failing again, the belief that you're just not disciplined enough. And the truth, you don't need to be more disciplined. You need your brain to stop associating change with failure. And that starts with reminding yourself you can do hard things, even when it's not perfect. And number 4, understand your body's unique needs. Not everyone burns fat the same way. Some bodies thrive on more carbs. Some do better with higher protein and fat. If you've been following a plan that worked for your friend, but not for you, this might be why. One thing I always have my clients do is figure out their body type. Because when you understand your own metabolism, fat loss gets so much easier. Bottom line, if your brain doesn't feel safe with change, it'll fight you every step of the way. So keep it simple, keep it repeatable, and build the belief one habit at a time. So yeah, those small, consistent actions matter. But what really changes everything, it's when your brain stops seeing progress as a threat and starts seeing it as normal. That's when things finally click. If you're stuck right now, it's not because you're broken. It's not because you need to try harder. It's because your brain is clinging to old habits that feel safe. That nighttime snacking, that I'll start over Monday loop, that constant second guessing, they're all coping tools your brain has learned to protect you. But those patterns, they're also keeping you tired, frustrated, and spinning your wheels. And here's what I've seen over and over again. When my clients finally stop fighting themselves and start training their brain to accept change and not fear it, everything shifts. They don't just lose weight. They stop quitting. They stop spiraling after one off day. They feel in control for the first time in years, because it's not just about fat loss. It's about finally feeling like the version of yourself you always knew was in there. And I want that for you too. One of the hardest parts about losing weight or changing anything, honestly, is that your brain is obsessed with instant proof. It wants to see results. It wants the scale to drop, the clothes to fit, and the before and after moment to show up now. And when that doesn't happen fast enough, your brain panics. This isn't working. I should be further along by now. Maybe I'm just not built for this. But here's what I tell my clients all the time. Just because it's not visible yet doesn't mean it's not working. Your blood sugar is stabilizing. Your hormones are recalibrating. Your metabolism is adapting. Your brain is learning to stop reacting to every craving, every bad day, every off moment. That stuff doesn't show up on the scale right away, but it matters. It's kind of like planting seeds. You don't dig them up every day to check if they're growing. You water them, you keep showing up, and one day it clicks. So if you've been doing the right things but questioning whether it's working, don't quit. Your body is catching up. Your brain is catching up, and you might be so much closer than you think. So here's the truth. You don't need a new diet. You don't need to hustle harder. You just need to stop letting your brain talk you out of the progress you already started. Because the real reason you feel stuck, you've been stuck in survival mode, stuck in old stories, stuck in a loop where every setback feels like failure. But now you know better. You know it's your brain trying to protect you, and you know how to take your power back. So let me ask you this. What's one thing you're ready to do differently starting today? Drop it in the comments. I want to read every single one. An example could be, I'm letting go of the belief that I have to be perfect to see progress. And if this spoke to you, make sure you subscribe and check the description for free resources to help you get started. There's also info down there if you're ready to work with me and want real support that meets you where you're at. No more starting over. This time, you keep going. I'll see you in the next video.